with a little synth in it. One more time, just on its own. Okay, I'll take off the synthesizer and we'll kind of cover it real quick with just guitar. Because I don't know, I've always enjoyed trying to pick out the keyboard parts to some of these songs, because they're usually very melodic and it's kind of a challenge. But what we're doing here is we're in the key, whereas the guitar solos tend to stay in the key, like in the key of G minor pentatonic or G major pentatonic. But the keyboard solo at the end moves over the three chords, the D, the C, and the G. It kind of outlines the chords more than like in the guitar solos. So he's doing in a standard, more countrified thing where you use sixth in the guitar. Here's the G chord, and if you want to do you want to get the idea of that, because that's what the keyboard's playing with. Set the third to the one. So this in a D chord, the third is the F sharp, and the high note D is the one. And then so what the keyboard starts is hammering on a G note to the A note, and then hitting all the way up to the third. So it's not doing a D at all. It's outlining the fifth and the third. So it's... See? Here's a D chord. So and then when it changes to the C chord, he just moves down 2 frets like the C chord would do. And then when you're playing a G chord, it's the same relative position, hammering on C to a D note. So now instead of going down here, you can just switch to this D and the B string and make it easier to not have to move so far. At the end, it's dun, 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 that's a B, B, A, G. So, all right, the second time he does the same thing, only just hammers on individual chromatics. Like, and then move down to just 2 times, but the second time it ends with a half-step chromatic down to the G. So the first time, second time, all right, then we move into the same outlining the chords a little differently. That's the next riff over the 3 chords, D, C, and G. And it's D chord, like hammering on to the 3rd, another very countrified riff. And then you move down a whole step to where the C would be. So like a D, C, and then over the G, he slides in from a half step down, outlining the chord like. I'm doing double stops, just 2 notes. In a piano, you can use more, but on the 12th fret on the B and G string, I'm sliding a half step below the G note and the B note. And then I do the same thing on the B and E string, sliding into the 15th fret, making that a sliding into a D and a high G up there. So repeat that. Just to give it a little blues feel going down at the end. All right, so that riff again is. And then this time it's similar, it just does a little bit variation. So this time it's 2 hits on the root, which is the D in here. You move down to the C. And then at the G, you start at the high note, double stops, and go down the chord. So I'm just kind of outlining the chord. Slide up here, slide down the B and G string, and then the D and G string. Top 2, middle 2, lower 2. All right, and now we move down to this position in the D. We just do a lower. Same kind of feel as up here. It's just those 6 double stops. So we do them down here. I'm on the D and the B string here, outlining 2 notes of a D chord. Here's a D note and the F sharp. And I go up half step on the D string, whole step on the B string, to make that a G and E, and then slide up to A and F sharp. So that's all in a D chord. But so he goes. Okay, that's where we are, that riff. We're going down here. And then over the C chord, you start on the C note here. And then you're thinking G chord. That's a very bluesy and country bluesy part of that 6th. Very countrified. You could tell that being from the South, those guitarists and keyboard players in Leonard Skynyrd, Billy Powell was amazing. I loved his keyboard playing, but he listened to a lot of Southern style country rock and keyboard. And at the very end, as they're fading out, it goes up high and does the same. And then they hear the keyboard He does a full walk down, like with all the way down, but I just picked that run to do a very fast run with single notes. So all together, it's 2, 3, 4. That's just a little fun with the keyboard solo of Sweet Home Alabama on the guitar.